Eastern Germany, the stronghold of the AfD, the far-right alternative for Deutschland party that's seeing a surge in support.
The mood here is ecstatic because I don't think anyone in the room thought that they would get that result.
Regional elections will be taking place in 3 Eastern German states this September. The AfD is ahead in the polls.
Machen Sie mich zum Ministerpräsidenten Thüringen.
Why is the AfD so successful in Eastern Germany? Nearly 35 years after the fall of the Berlin Wall, are there still differences between the East and the West of the country? And is the AfD exploiting them? Historian Ilko Sasha Kowalczuk blames the legacy of East Germany's communist dictatorship. An expert on Eastern Germany, he grew up in East Berlin and is a fervent believer in a free and open society. How divided is Germany? On June the 10th, as the results of the European elections were announced, the AfD was in a jubilant mood. The party had made huge gains. The results pointed to a deeply polarized country. In the west of the country, the conservative CDU and CSU were the strongest political force in almost every state. In Eastern Germany, the former GDR, the AfD rose to become the strongest party and gained a relative majority. Greiz in Thuringia, a bastion of the AfD. The past casts a long shadow here, and many people feel they're treated like second-class citizens.
We lived through communism when we were always told what to do, and that's what's happening now too.
Many in Eastern Germany feel disillusioned with politics, and they're worried about the many crises raging around the world. Climate change, the war in Ukraine.
What matters most to people? Security. Security and planning for the future. Security in the here and now. But we are living in a time of no security because no one knows what the future holds.
That applies to most Germans. So why is this insecurity especially prevalent in the East? In 1989, East Germans witnessed the collapse of their country. With the fall of the wall, they gained freedom and saw the two Germanys reunify. But what followed came as a shock.
The shock about this transformation was sharper and more deep-seated in East Germany than anywhere else in the whole Eastern Bloc. It happened from one second to the next. Nowhere else had so much unemployment. Nowhere else did an entire system fall apart like this. It was a shock. But nowhere else in the Eastern Bloc did society disintegrate as gently as it did in East Germany, because it was pretty much completely subsumed into West Germany's welfare state.
After the demise of the communist East Germany, reconstruction of the eastern states began. To date, Germany has invested more than 1 trillion euros in making the standard of living equal in the east and the west of the country. This goal still hasn't been reached. But towns like Greiz in Thuringia were given complete makeovers, and economically the gap between living conditions has narrowed considerably. As statistics on the risk of poverty go to show, for 20 years this risk has been converging in Eastern and Western Germany. In 2022, the risk of becoming poor in Eastern Germany was 17.1%. This was only slightly higher than in Western Germany at 16.6%. Then why are so many East Germans dissatisfied?
Dear Father State, please take my worries from me and solve my problems. This is a completely obsolete understanding of the state, an understanding that is still prevalent in East Germany. An assumption that the state is responsible for solving society's problems, people's individual problems. People don't take personal responsibility. They think it's up to the state. And if it can't sort everything out, and in a liberal democracy it can't, they are deeply disappointed and turn away from the state and end up seeing themselves as critical of the state.
A mood that the AfD has seized upon. Björn Höcke is one of the party's leading figures. He's hoping to become minister-president in Thuringia in the election in September.
Die einzige Kraft, die sagt, es geht so nicht weiter, wir brauchen Veränderung, das ist die AfD.
The fact that society in the region is demographically very homogeneous helps drive the party's success in Eastern Germany. Basically, it's more male, older, and whiter than in the West. The statistics back this up. In the Western German states, 32.9% of the population have a migrant background. This means that almost a third of people have immigrated themselves or come from immigrant families. In the Eastern German states, the figure is only 11.4%, so just over 1 in 10. According to sociologists, a less diverse society is more susceptible to extremist attitudes. Rejection of change is more prevalent, as is anger at existing conditions. The AfD isn't the only party benefiting. So is a new party, the Sarah Wagenknecht Alliance, or BSW. Wagenknecht focuses on some of the same issues as the AfD, such as stopping immigration and rapprochement with Putin's Russia. She believes in Germany first. The BSW could attract a lot of votes in the upcoming elections. It's polling well in Eastern Germany.
In a society where there are more men, for example, or elderly people, where there are fewer job opportunities, where the infrastructure is broken, where there are no more buses, where there is no medical care, you'll always find that extremists can get an easier foothold.
And Björn Höcke and many of his colleagues in the AfD are extremists. In 2010, Höcke took part in a neo-Nazi demonstration in Dresden. He has twice been fined by courts for using a Nazi-era slogan in his election campaign. Other AfD politicians repeatedly trivialize and glorify the Nazi era, including Siegbert Droese. An AfD state executive board member in Saxony, he posted pictures of himself on social media with his hand on his heart outside Hitler's headquarters in Poland. And in 2015, his election car bore the Leipzig license plate AH1818. In Nazi symbolism, AH and the number 18 stand for Adolf Hitler. None of this hindered the rise of the AfD in Eastern Germany. Remarkably, however, the idea that all AfD voters are far-right is wrong. And the rise of the AfD does not go hand in hand with an increase in far-right thinking. A study conducted at the University of Leipzig shows that the proportion of East Germans with a narrow far-right worldview has fallen sharply since 2002. From 8% of the population in 2002 to 2.1% in 2022. This is the same trend as in West Germany. Experts have another explanation for the popularity of radical politicians like Björn Höcke. They say it's down to a longing for strong leadership and authoritarian politics in uncertain times.
Authoritarian systems provide a very clear framework for how you behave. In authoritarian regimes, if you don't rebel, if you adapt, you can live well because you have guardrails. Freedom and democracy mean you constantly have to make decisions. You have to take responsibility for yourself. You have to keep defining who you are, and that creates a lot of uncertainty. And because democracy is not about consensus but compromise and negotiation, which is extremely exhausting, it always seems very imperfect and unfinished. As someone who values freedom, I see that as the great strength of democracy and freedom. Precisely this incompleteness, this constant change, the fact that we can get involved and participate. But for many other people who see things differently, that's a source of insecurity.
Debate and disagreement are also cornerstones of democracy, but require a robust civil society. Eastern Germany lags behind in this respect, as federal and state statistics indicate. These show there are 25,254 foundations working for the common good in Germany in 2022. Only 7.2% of these foundations are based in Eastern Germany. They are therefore significantly underrepresented in the East. How can people be encouraged to help make civil society more robust? It's a question that preoccupies many in Greiz, Thuringia. Lena Grundmann believes people need to set up grassroots initiatives. She's founded a local association to bring people together.
We have to listen to each other and not yell Nazi at anyone who says something we think is wrong. Instead, we need to try and understand their fears. Why do they think the AfD has the answers? Why would they think a CDU party that says similar things has the answers either? We need to realize that political parties don't have any solutions if we can't see any humanity in them.
Her association seeks to reach young people in particular and stop them leaving rural areas. Its 30 members want to bring people together.
For example, we have a hiking group and explore the place we live in. We also take the time to hear about where other people come from, people who've moved to the Saale-Orla region who fled to Thuringia. Hearing about their homeland also brings us together because we realize that home is something we all carry within us.
At this event in Greiz, they're networking with various left-wing initiatives that are all fighting against the AfD for an open-minded Thuringia, for a Thuringia they want to live in.
What really works is when we organize things ourselves, when we take the action we know is needed, because of course we know best what we need here, what form it should take and how we can make it happen. I think above all, we need to stop putting obstacles in our own way. We shouldn't see anything as impossible and be put off by bureaucratic hurdles. We have to decide for ourselves what justice means to us and how to get ourselves organized.
Nothing strengthens democracy more than participation. Getting people to participate, so that they don't think they are just asked to cast a vote every few years, but that they are actually involved in decision-making processes.
Lena Grundmann and the members of her association don't want their fellow Germans to look to the AfD for answers. They want them to know there are other solutions, genuine alternatives for the people of Thuringia and Eastern Germany.